Got my big girl drill out. Hey, it's Care. Welcome to my Take at the Lake. So I was on Pam at the Paper Outpost's Facebook group a few months ago, and the lady had these beautiful dyed pages, and they were that old-fashioned Xerox purple. You got to be a certain age to remember that Xerox copy machine purple that smelled so good. Anyway, I asked her, because the people there are very nice, how did you get that color? And she said she had her husband drill holes in her used up cartridge, and then she soaked them, and just happened that that's how hers turned out, this beautiful purple color. So as you may or may not know, I found a whole big bag full brand new, full up cartridges at a St. Vinny's haul, and I've been playing with those. I made some sprays. I've made lots of projects with them, lots of videos about that already. But today I was getting my used ones ready to mail out. These are empty, supposedly. And I got out my big girl drill with a real drill bit. Oh, look at me go. Yeah. And I drilled a hole, because the ink comes out here. So that's where I started. I drilled there, and I got nothing. And I drilled here, and I got nothing. I drilled here. This is all sponge. When I drilled here, this must be the tank. This must be the tank. Anyway, how I knew I hit oil was because the end of my drill bit came back blood red. Oh, look at there. There's still ink in there. Because they never quite go empty, right? So, I sat this up like this, top to bottom. Took me a little doing and some tongs, but I set this upright in this glass mason jar, and I poured some rubbing alcohol down through that hole in hopes that it would just drain out some color, and it did not. So I drilled a few more holes in, just hither and yon, to get airflow through. And then I put some water down in there, hoping again it would just sort of start spewing ink. Look how pretty. Look how beautiful. And it did not. So I got my tongs and I got it out of there. And this part was clean. And so I tilted it, because there was a hole here. I tilted it. And it's getting to be Easter time. Do you ever do blown eggs? You poke a tiny hole in the top of the shell and a tiny hole in the bottom of the shell with a needle, and you blow the egg out through that hole so that you have an empty shell, and then that's what you color, so that you can keep them longer and they don't get stinky nasty. They sort of still do, but not as fast or as bad. Anyway, I blew this like an egg. I blew, and then I kept checking, because it was spewing out, and it's this gorgeous purple. It's gonna be Xerox purple ink. I just know it's gonna be fabulous. But I kept blowing on it, and it was coming out around here. Nothing here, so I kept wiping my face off. Nothing. But at the end, I did have blue and purple ink all over my face. It looked like I blew the Easter bunny. Yes, it did. Holy Hannah. But it's all going to be worth it, because check out, let's just play. I'm going to let it soak for a while now that I've got some airflow through there. But look at that color. That's worth blowing the Easter bunny for, don't you think? Or at least looking like you did. That is going to be so flippin' cool. So it's going to be part alcohol ink, because there's a little bit of rubbing alcohol in there and a lot of water. Nothing is measured. I'm doing this, just experimenting, so I can't tell you an exact or measurements or anything like that, but I can tell you it's pretty flippin' cool. Yes, it is. Keep it up. You're gonna have the mat all messy. Not really the way I'd suggest dyeing paper, but for right now, it's fine. Look how pretty. And that, wouldn't that go so well with, at least I think it will, all this stuff that I just made? Maybe not. Maybe this is too blue, but so I'll add some red or yellow and tone that down. I'll make a smaller jar. I'll put some of this purple in with some yellow that I already have, and it will tone down that purple, because remember, Easter egg colors, purple and yellow, are complements. They either complement each other and make each other pop, or they tone down each other. So this is too purpley for this project. So in order to tone down that bright purple, I'm going to add a little bit of yellow at a time, to warm it up, to neutralize it out a little bit, and we'll see how that goes. In fact, let's just do it. Let's just make this happen. Okay, so I don't have yellow. I have orange. Orange is red and yellow mixed. So it'll add a little more red to it, but let's just see what it does together. So it's pretty powerful, so it's just pretty well sitting on top. Next part of the experiment, I'm going to put just a little bit of that spray in here, a little bit of my purple, and let it gray out. Still pretty purple, but again, you want to do this a little bit at a time. See how it's warmed it up? It's added a little more red, and it's not quite as vibrant or blue. All right, look at me. Wasn't really planning on this just this moment. I wasn't. I got something else I'm supposed to be doing. Oh, go figure. But look, we're closer. We're closer to that warmish purple than we were here with the bright. So we're just going to add a little bit more. And ideally, yellow would do this quicker. But essentially, what we're doing, red and yellow and blue and red, we have red, yellow, and blue. What we're making, we're neutralizing those colors depending on how much of which. There's still a lot of blue and there's still a lot of red in there, so it's not quite gray. And that might be as good as we get it. But I'm perfectly happy with that. If I do some pages in that. But I always keep some of this stuff just handy to do these kind of experiments. All I'm doing is dipping it in there, getting it wet. Seeing what it's going to look like. Oh yeah. Very cool. Quite a difference. Just adding a little bit of that orange. Again, yellow would have been a better option. But that'll work fine and dandy if I'm going to do a journal with this stuff, these colors throughout. Now I've got this fine option. And here's how I'm going to do it. Because these are so vintagey, I'm going to take some of my coffee dyed paper that I have right here ready to go, all the time. Just going to take a few pages of this because I already have it mixed up. And all I'm going to do is get those ends and let it bleed as it will. These are early drafts of my books. I have stacks and stacks and stacks of these drafts. Might as well use them up. Paper's paper, right? Because on this side, it looks like flatbread, doesn't it? Because as you know, I like to just fold my papers in half. Call it good. So I'm going to make a journal 9 by 6. So I can just fold my 8.5 by 11 paper over and call her a day. Let's see. There. Now, I've got the browns. See how nice that looks? We'll get rid of these and that. I like that quite a bit better than that Xerox purple. Matchy matchy. You know a tiny bit about color theory, just a tiny bit. Complementary colors, how to neutralize, how to make things pop and sing. Like that. I like it a lot. So I'll be making some more of this, dyeing some more of my coffee dye to go into this journal. Well, that was a fun little left turn. Don't be afraid to play with your toys and experiment. Because now all these things, it could either be a real fun Rorschach test or collage fodder. I can tear this up. I can hey, let's do that. Because I always have my coffee, super, super strong instant coffee, always ready to go. Because I don't want that white. Even this one, if I put that brown over it, which has a bit of orange and yellow cast to it, it'll gray down that purple and make it a little kind of like that purple, a little kind of like that purple. So these two little messes that I made, except for that giant orange splotch, this can also be made into collage. Once it dries, it's going to make fabulous backgrounds and collage papers. You know, a lot of times we don't see this part of it. This is messy, and I certainly didn't really have any intention of going here today with you. I was just going to show you what it looks like to blow ink out of a cartridge. I wasn't planning on this, but one thing leads to another, and eventually, like I said, we don't often see the messy bits. Here's some messy bits for you. Oh yeah, that's going to be great. When that dries, it's going to be nice. So I put that, what ultimately turned out to be fairly purple. Oh, look at there. Ah, how handy. From the first cleaning out of the ink cartridge. But I wanted to show you nothing is ever wasted. Blot her up. I made some papers, just what I had handy. I grabbed my calendar from earlier that overlapped and I didn't use the pages. So pretty. This is that beautiful. Look at all the variant. It's kind of gray. There's purples or violets and lilacs. I don't know that they're coming through as vividly as I can see them, but there's so much character and interest, blotting and whatnot. And then I just dripped some and spattered some. These aren't quite dry. They're still pretty damp, but you get the picture, and you can see that the colors tend to separate sometimes, which is kind of cool. I couldn't replicate that, you know, and so this is all these papers are going to go into my paper stash, and when I'm doing a book that these colors would lend themselves to, springtime, Easter, cotton candy, oh, a whole journal on cotton candy. Why not? I just noticed. I don't know if it'll come up on screen. Oh, there. Look at my TV. I don't know what I was spattering. Oh, I bet it's white acrylic. Thinned down white acrylic when I was jazzing up my scraps. Well, that's a nice little mess I'll have to clean up. Ah, the life of a crafter. Fun. Focus. Okay, back to what we were doing. Cotton candy journal. Ho fun. Easter journal, springtime journal. Favorite colors are pink and purple journal. Pretty princess journal. So fun. I love these spattered ones. So these, once they're dry, will go into my paper stash. I didn't want to give up on that first cartridge. So I made all these pages, and I have that much left to play with. I let it soak, that cartridge, I let it soak overnight in plain water with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. I did blow the cartridge more. Oh my god, I'm seeing purple paint all over my white walls now. I guess I must do most of my craft stuff at night because I never see this stuff. I clean by candlelight too. I take my glasses off, I have a glass of wine or 3, and I light the candles, and I shut off the lights, and I vacuum and I dust, and you know, it looks fabulous. And it's fast, and I have such a good time. I think I'll keep crafting at night. I won't see what a mess I'm making of my room. Anyway, this is a tri-colored cartridge, meaning it has magenta, yellow, and cyan, red, yellow, and blue in one cartridge. So theoretically, this should be gray because it's all 3 colors, but I don't know how much was left of each. So I let that soak overnight, and this is the color that I got. Kind of a tealy blue versus the purpley blue. Very grayed out because, again, all 3 primary colors are mixed in there. But oh, the yumminess. It's very watercolory on this paper. Again, this is junk, my old calendar paper. Oops, try and keep them separated. Look how pretty they came out. So pretty. So pretty. Very teal. But it's very different. On copy paper, it doesn't do the watercolory thing like this. Different kind of paper. Still pretty. Very blue. You can see that the pink, the magenta has separated. You can see quite a bit of the yellow in here too. And again, what I do for most of these is I put them together, I fan them out a little bit to kind of loosen them up, and I just take my sprayer and I spray down the edges, and I try to get in here and there. I kind of like driving blind a little bit in that I don't need to control the whole thing. I don't need to see where it's going or how much is getting on what. I like the surprises. When I feel like that's wet enough, I turn it, and of course that whatever's wet will then start rolling downward and sideways, and I do the next edge, and I just spray it and do it all the way around, and then I turn them around and I do it again. And sometimes if the center ones don't get too much love, I flip them, I change the order and I do it again. And sometimes those outside pages, let's see if I can find one. Sometimes those outside pages get these great spatter spray marks, which are so fun. And there's the drips. Again, I'm just gonna fold these in half and have fantastically fun background pages for junk journals, for art journal pages. Glue a few pages together. But instead of the gray that I was anticipating, I got this sort of tealy grayish blue with a lot of pink. A lot of pink. So that's the front sprayed, and then that's the bleed. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but this is pretty. There's quite a bit of pink in this one. Some I dribbled on with a spoon and smushed it around. Pages I put my paint on however it was going to get. My ink, watered down ink. Put that on and then smush it. And then flip it over and do my thing. And add a clean piece of paper and smush it so that, again, I'm getting all different kinds of marks and colors and designs. And that makes for fun stuff to play with. Then I just set it next to my heater vent and let them dry kind of naturally. And like I said, I will then add them to my paper stash. This was fun. I was doing a watercolor and it got a little wet on me, so I just put down a piece of notebook paper and smushed it. This is in the unwasted paint category. Big fan of that whole idea. Nothing ever wasted. Oh, it sounds so yummy. Alright. Left turn. Back to our regularly scheduled program. More soon. Mate at the lake. Out for now.